The story begins with a young man named Roger, strikingly handsome, yet often lost in his own daydreams. He carried within him a restless curiosity and an imagination that seemed to drift wherever his eyes happened to wander. Roger had a particular fondness for fruit, especially large, ripe watermelons, and whenever a young woman passed near him, his gaze inevitably lingered on her lips, as if they held some hidden meaning he longed to decipher. With this distracted heart, Roger set off toward his family estate, where he planned to spend the summer holidays. On his journey, he was accompanied by one of his mother's maids, who had been sent to escort him home. They traveled on a simple horse cart, rolling along quiet paths shaded by trees. As the cart moved, Roger's attention shifted toward the maid and the papayas she carried, and his mind began to spin stories of sweetness, hunger, and temptation. Though he said nothing, the maid sensed the thoughts that flickered across his expression. She chose silence, her knowing glance unspoken but sharp enough to pierce his reverie. Soon, the cart reached his home, and Roger was greeted with warm embraces from his family. His mother noticed at once a curious white stain on his trousers. "Where did this come from?" she asked, puzzled. Roger realized with embarrassment that melted ice cream had caused it. His aunt, standing nearby, chuckled knowingly and said, "At his age, these things happen all the time." Without hesitation, she brushed at the mark with her hands, an action both maternal and strangely intimate. Later, Roger reunited with his younger sister Anna, who delighted in showing him the secret corners of the estate. She led him to the forest, where the air was filled with birdsong and drifting sunlight. There, Roger saw once again the maid who had brought him home. She avoided lingering with him too long, but Roger's thoughts deepened. While wandering alone afterward, he slipped into a thicket of bushes and heard laughter, a woman's, light and playful. Peering through the leaves, he discovered Ursula, another maid of the household, entangled with a man in a secret rendezvous. When she noticed Roger watching, she laughed again, this time at his startled expression. Flustered and unnerved, Roger fled back home. That night, as the family gathered for dinner, Roger remained quiet, his mind replaying what he had seen. Later, in his room, half asleep, he was stirred by the sound of clattering dishes outside. Curiosity led him to peek through the door, and he was shocked to see Helen, another maid, caught in a clandestine embrace with a lover whose face remained hidden in the shadows. She quickly adjusted her clothing when she noticed Roger's presence, and he retreated in confusion, restless once again. Lonely and unsettled, Roger lay in bed until his sister Anna slipped quietly into the room, crawling under the covers to whisper secrets. She spoke about their Aunt Margaret, about how Margaret feared men, about stories she had heard from Helen. Roger asked why their aunt had never married, and Anna repeated the tale. Margaret, though kind, kept her distance out of fear. Their whispers faded as they drifted into uneasy sleep. But Margaret herself soon entered the room, sending Anna away and fixing her gaze upon Roger. For a moment, they studied one another in silence, the tension unspoken but undeniable, until she finally turned and left. The following day, Anna took Roger to spy on the women of the household, bathing together in the river, their laughter floating through the air. Hidden behind a tree, brother and sister observed, while across the water, a group of male workers arrived, teasing the women by flashing bananas in jest. Ursula, in particular, locked eyes with them, giving looks filled with mischief. This scene both amused and unsettled Roger, who watched from concealment. Soon after, Roger's elder sister, Elisa, returned home with their father. She embraced everyone warmly, yet when it came to Roger, she offered only a distant greeting before disappearing inside. Confused and perhaps wounded, Roger withdrew again into his thoughts. Anna, ever curious, led him later to a church, where from a hidden place they overheard their Aunt Margaret confessing to the priest. Her words stunned them. She admitted to harboring sinful thoughts, claiming that since Roger's return, she had been consumed by a forbidden love for him, haunted even in her dreams. Hearing this, Roger's heart twisted with an emotion both strange and powerful, as if something long buried had awoken within him. He lost his balance and tumbled from the rafters, fainting before he struck the ground. Carried home by the priest and Margaret, Roger's secret was revealed to his mother, who reacted not with shock, but with a stern determination. She consulted with the priest, then pressured Margaret into accepting a course of action that left Roger in pain and humiliation. That night, he lay uncomfortably in bed, bruised and bewildered, when again the clatter of pots disturbed his restless sleep. Peeking outside, he saw Helen once more in an embrace with her mysterious suitor, a secret lover who appeared night after night. Nearby, Mr. Frank, a family acquaintance, seemed to watch with quiet approval. Later, Ursula came to comfort Roger, offering balm for his wounds, though his mind remained fixated on Helen's unknown partner. "Who is he?" Roger asked desperately. Ursula smiled but offered only, "That's a secret among us maids," before slipping away. The unanswered mystery gnawed at him. Unable to rest, Roger sought out Mr. Frank, only to find him peering through a telescope, clearly indulging his own secret passions. Startled by Roger's intrusion, Frank fled, leaving behind a book filled with romantic tales. Roger pocketed it, intrigued, only to be caught shortly afterward by Ronald, Elisa's fiancé, who caught him spying. Cornered, Roger begged for silence, promising anything in exchange. Ronald smirked and ordered him to clean his car, wielding the threat like a weapon. The next day, Roger hid in the stables with Frank's book, absorbed in its scandalous stories, until footsteps forced him to conceal himself. From his hiding place, he saw Helen once again caught in a compromising situation, and though she called faintly for help, it was clear she relished the game she played. Frustrated, Roger slipped away, only to be further humiliated when Ronald later exposed his behavior to his mother. She rebuked him harshly, comparing him unfavorably to his sisters, whom she praised as virtuous. Yet Roger's curiosity only deepened. He saw Elisa secretly reading the very book he had planted, her face flushed with excitement. Yearning, Roger turned to Ursula, confessing his feelings in clumsy desperation. She initially mistook him for a servant, then recognized him, pitying his naivete. Their encounter was cut short by another maid's intrusion, sending Roger fleeing in embarrassment. Still unsatisfied, he sought out Miss Lee, the maid who had first brought him home. With a burst of courage, he confessed his longing. Though startled, she too seemed hungry for affection and accepted his approach. But before anything could blossom, news arrived like a storm. War had broken out. Germany had declared battle against France, and the household's fate shifted overnight. The announcement of war threw the household into chaos. All the men prepared to depart, their farewells tinged with both pride and sorrow. Strangely, Roger felt a surge of excitement rather than fear, for he realized that once the men left, the women would remain behind. He even allowed himself a secret dance of joy, imagining the freedoms to come. Tradition dictated that before leaving for battle, husbands and wives would spend one last night together in the forest, seeking comfort in each other's arms. Roger observed this ritual from a distance, his heart racing with anticipation for the days ahead. Once the men were gone, the estate seemed transformed. Quiet halls echoed with new possibilities. Roger wasted no time and soon sought out Ursula, weaving her into his net of affection. Their clandestine encounter emboldened him further. The following day, Anna whispered that their mother planned to confess something to the priest. Curious, Roger followed, listening as she admitted her guilt, not for infidelity, but for enjoying intimacy with her husband so much that she sometimes feared it was sinful. The priest reassured her that such passion between spouses was no sin at all. The revelation struck Roger. In this world, desire seemed both condemned and celebrated, depending only on who held the power to judge. Later, near the riverbank, Roger leapt from the water like a predator, startling the maid Kate, who surrendered to his impulsive advance. This success fueled his growing confidence. He began to believe it was his destiny to bring affection, or what he called medicine, to every woman in the household. That night, emboldened, he crept into Aunt Margaret's room. At first she was shocked, but when Roger murmured that he had come to help her, her resistance melted. Their encounter was fierce, filled with a hunger that revealed the depth of Margaret's loneliness. In those moments, Roger no longer felt like a boy fumbling for affection. He felt like someone fulfilling a role fate had forced upon him. Soon after, Helen entered with tea. But this time, there was no hidden lover to whisk her away. Roger seized the moment, pulling her close. In the quiet of his chamber, she became yet another to receive his so-called remedy. Days blurred together as Roger sought out Elisa, catching her near the stables as she tended the horses. At first, she resisted, shocked at his boldness, but gradually she surrendered, swept away by a mixture of shock, shame, and undeniable desire. To Roger, it seemed as though the entire household had become a stage for his reckless pursuit of intimacy. One by one, he shared these forbidden moments until he felt almost invincible. But his illusions of triumph shattered when Elisa confided in him that she was pregnant. The words struck him like a blow. Before he could process the weight of it, Ursula revealed the same news, followed soon after by Margaret. Panic consumed him. The war was ending, and the men would return home any day. Roger foresaw the ruin that would fall upon him if the truth emerged. Desperation drove him to schemes. He planted evidence, such as red nail polish on Elisa's bedsheets, urging her to claim Ronald as the father of her child. He persuaded Margaret to accept Mr. Frank's proposal of marriage, painting it as a noble match. To Ursula, he offered a proposal himself, but she refused, admitting her heart belonged elsewhere. One by one, the women found their way into socially acceptable unions, concealing the truth of Roger's reckless deeds. For a time, he believed himself saved, yet his compulsions would not let him rest. He once again sought Helen, only for her to later announce that she too was pregnant. The walls of his secret world were closing in, and his summer of indulgence was rapidly unraveling. When the time came for him to leave for school, Roger promised Helen he would find her a husband as well. She declined with quiet strength, telling him she would manage on her own. Her words pierced Roger's illusions, forcing him to recognize the weight of what he had done. And so, with a mixture of shame, regret, and strange pride, Roger departed at the end of his summer holiday. Behind him lay a household, forever altered by his impulsive desires, though none would openly speak of it. Before the curtain fell, the narrator's voice reminded the audience of the tale's irony. That, in the rush of youth, Roger mistook desire for destiny, and in chasing love everywhere, he ended up leaving chaos in his wake. The film closes on Roger's retreating figure, carrying with him the secrets of a summer that would haunt him forever. The narration bids farewell, inviting the viewer to reflect on the dangerous blend of innocence and temptation, on the fine line between affection and folly. And with that, the story ends, dramatic, unsettling, and unforgettable.